Hello, hello. Welcome back after, what, 3 weeks-ish? We're back in 1.0 full release with the Iron Teeth, and I forget what this map is called. I always do. Spillage, maybe? Not quite sure. But this is the playthrough that we are supposed to be figuring out automation with, and seems to have taken a turn toward building something completely absurd. Like, just for example, storing 1 million logs because somebody thought that would be fun in chat and I can be easily distracted. But, regardless, got plenty of stuff we can get to. This is going to be the last stream in this series for a while, probably about a month. I won't be available to really do a whole lot of live streaming until the last half of May. But, I do have a little bit of time today to try and get something else accomplished. I wanted to mess with memory. Because I think that's going to be something we're going to need to use in the video series with the folktales, and that is originally what this live stream playthrough is for. But we've got all sorts of stuff we still haven't messed with here. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully everybody's having a good Saturday or very early Sunday. So, let's get the memory unlocked here, because I have not played with this at all. And I kind of don't know what to do with it, but people keep saying in the comments of the other series videos that you need to be using memory and you need to have this and that. And I don't know what any of that stuff is, which that's kind of the whole point of this anyway. So I can only assume there's some sort of logic, not as in literal computer logic, logic as in thought process that needs to be applied to this. I just don't know any of it. So, if you are willing to suffer through this with me, then hopefully we can figure that out. So, I don't have the comments up for the other videos because I can't do that while I'm streaming, but I do remember somebody saying something about a set reset memory module, which, okay, it actually does explain it. It switches on when A happens and it resets when the reset event triggers. Of course, these are different things. Either counters or relays or switches or whatever. So I think what someone was trying to get me to do was to put these in, if you've seen the latest episode of the Folktales series, the high-low boundary production thing. I hope I can explain this correctly. But basically, I wanted in that series to have the production buildings turn on when both of the following conditions were met. First condition, meaning there is available materials to produce the item, and the second condition being there is available space in the output storage. So, for example, planks would turn on when 5% or greater of log storage is available, and would turn off when storage reaches 95% capacity, which is why that would be an AND gate on the relay attached to that production. But then the kind of the same issue from the Iron Teeth Ant Farm series, when I tried to automate some of those things, and we ended up using timers to solve, was the production would just continuously flip on and off and on and off and on and off once it was inside of that range. And I was told memory could help with that. So I guess we'll see what happens. Do they need to be next to the building they're triggering? It does not seem like this has any sort of interaction with the pathways. The resource counter does. I don't know why, that's just the way they decided to do it. The resource counter does, memory does not, timers do not, relays do not, but it seems like anything that directly interfaces with a statistic here does have to touch a path. We have a population counter that also has that arrow. Science counter does not, but that's not a, technically it's a resource, but it's not. Obviously the power meter has to interface with power, that makes total sense. And then everything else seems like it doesn't matter. Ah, yes. Hello, battery. Satisfactory stream planned soon. I cannot commit to any more streams until the second half of May. Which I know that's disappointing. That's for those of you who don't want to do math like I don't want to do math, that's in a month. We'll see. I might try to do one more in the middle of this week, but I can't commit to anything. Resource counter interacts with the path so it can be district or the full... Okay. See, that's really smart. That is really smart. And also, your name just took me back to, what, 2007? Strong, bad emails, etc. Let's see. Anyway, thanks for popping in, Battery. Good to say hi, at the very least. So, I would like to kind of recreate, to try and steer this back into some sort of productive thing here. I'd like to try and recreate one of the scenarios in that other playthrough so that we can experiment with this and I don't have to, you know, be really frustrated while making one of those videos. Because let's be honest, it's not always a good time trying to produce something that is supposed to be, you know, at least entertaining or engaging when you don't really have any idea what's going on and you're worried that people are going to be upset with you. So, what I'm going to do is find, I guess, just, it needs to be somewhere that actually has power. Where can I put this? Because I want it to be isolated so I can actually mess with this and not have to worry about everything else. So this has power here. It doesn't have a lot of power, but it does have power, so it can be used. Why am I doing this way? This is stupid. This is not the right way to do this. Not even remotely close. Anyway, industrial lumber mill can go here. This is what we're going to be playing with. So I need to have, to recreate what we'd done before, I need to have 2 resource counters. I'm not going to try and make this, you know, as nice looking as the other one was, because that was designed for that specific space. But we need a low counter. We need a high counter. Then we need a relay. And then I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong and you know what I'm doing here. I'm pretty sure the relay needs to go into the memory, and then the building needs to go be connected to the memory. And I know we already have this technically automated somewhere else, but again, this is for learning. That's the purpose of what we're doing today. This is an AND, which needs to be set to here and here. So plank, the way I had this set up before is when the threshold was 5%. If it's greater than 5%, this resource counter turns on. If this is less than 95%, this resource counter turns on. If both resource counters turn on, this relay turns on. And then now I need this relay, I think, to be the on, the A, for this memory. I just need to figure out what the reset is. So the reset for this scenario, my first thought, again, please correct me if I'm doing this wrong, first thought was that this probably should be a timer to run this for a specific amount of time. And then you might say, oh, well, why don't you just use a timer instead of a memory? Well, I don't really know why. I feel like to use the memory, that's what I've got to do. Let's see. Favorite Timberborn series to date that I've made? Actually, I haven't really had a lot of time to watch anybody else's stuff, but that's kind of hard to say, because I feel like a lot of the ones that I enjoy the least are the ones you guys enjoy the most, and vice versa, which is, it is what it is. And that's, you know, that's part of the deal. But I really, by the end of it, I really liked the Ant Farm series. I was not having a good time for part of it, because it was really stressful, but I liked that one a lot. Let's see. The Ember Pelt series, the most recent one we did, I really liked. I feel like that one was hitting its stride toward the end, but then we just kind of ran out of stuff to do. And then, of course, all the really, really old ones I liked. I think it was Series 15. I called it Toxic Outlands or whatever it was. That was on the map that had all the tiers, and it was like a 256 by 256, and I had a bunch of stuff on that. I thought that one was really fun. Don't need the relay, you just feed the 2 resource counters into the memory cell. Okay, I don't think I understand. Because the memory cell, if it is on set reset, which I'm pretty sure is what we want, it only has one input, so I can't attach both of these to one input, which is why we have the low bound, the high bound, and then the relay that joins those with the AND logic. So unless I'm using the wrong type of memory here, which I have no idea what any of this is. I was just told this is something I should be doing. Have you ever seen a speed run on video or not see how many cycles it gets to the Earth Repopulator? I honestly don't watch that much Timberborn content because I spend so much time making Timberborn content. And I, contrary to what some people think, I don't actually spend my entire waking life on YouTube or on this. So I don't have any idea what the fastest theoretical path to the Earth Repopulator or Earth Recultivator is. I'd probably like to try and do it, maybe a marathon stream or something at some point, but I just don't know. Okay, set resets correct for what you're trying to achieve. Connect the high bound to the reset on the memory cell. Okay. So that makes sense if you're saying you don't need the relay. Okay, alright. My brain is slow. Just let me think about this for a second. I think I've got it, but there was an objection my brain raised to this that I'm trying to figure out how to word correctly. So if I have the reset be the high bound of this, then that means this will remain completely off until we get down to below 5% plant capacity. Which I guess is fine. I would be kind of concerned setting that big of a boundary. Like maybe we'd have to adjust these to be like 10 and 90 or 15 and 85. Because if that happens, then you're going to have a run on resources, and that could cause a lot of issues. If it's just continuously running from 5% to 95% and then not at all until it gets down to 5%. I will say the Emberpelt series, the most recent one, at times is pretty slow, just because there's a lot of stuff that has to... I keep picking these giant maps that I'm never going to be able to fill, which I probably should stop doing. But I always think, oh, okay, well, this is a new series. I'm going to be able to get everything set up super easy, super quick, and then we can build a whole bunch of stuff all over the map. It never happens. It never works. Yeah, see, the problem with naming conventions is everyone being the royal term, not saying literally everyone who's ever commented says this and doesn't know what they're talking about. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But generally, someone's idea of what words mean in the context of creating a naming system is not going to match up to what somebody else like wants and is expecting. So people keep suggesting stuff, and I really try very hard not to be dismissive of people's ideas, but this has happened so many times. So many times over the past couple of months that people have made honest, like earnest suggestions, genuinely trying to be helpful, and it has only made me more confused. And I don't know how to parse that. Because if I say, hey, stop giving me suggestions, then people are going to get mad. And if I say, keep giving me suggestions, it's probably not going to do that much good. But if I don't pick something, then people are going to keep saying, oh, you need to do it this way, because this always works. Like, okay, well, it works for you, that's great, but it doesn't always work that way. So I have to figure out, and this is part of the reason why this automation stuff frustrates me so much, is that it's basically like they added an entirely different genre of game into another game. And it creates this cognitive disconnect that it suddenly becomes something that seems almost completely insurmountable if you're not comfortable with and you don't have a background with all this stuff. And the people who do, not all of them, but some of the people who do have the background with this stuff just become insanely agitated that other people don't understand what it is. It's like, you've been playing this game for 5 years, how can't you figure it out? Like, look, dude, I took one computer science class 15 years ago, and the only thing I remember from it is that they were still teaching us about SCSI drives in 2010. It's like, no. That was not up-to-date information. Oh my god, I haven't lost the game in like 15 years, so congratulations for that. Let's see. Maybe 2 memories and then feed an and each memory below 90. Okay, now I'm more confused trying to understand what that is. I'm not dead, I'm reading. I'm attempting to understand what you guys are telling me to do. So, I think I shouldn't use the term problem, because that implies it's bad advice. But the issue that I would, from my perspective, take with naming logic cells as statements is that you have to be careful, because of the way this shows up. When, say, I just click on one of these, they're alphabetized. I don't think you can change this. But if you make them logic statements, if you name the things that create logic with logic statements, then it's gonna, I would imagine, cause problems trying to figure out what actually does what, because you're going to have to modify the names. If you want stuff to all appear in the same area here, it's going to modify your naming convention the more things that you make, because you're going to run into scenarios where you can't just say, okay, well, this one is logs are low. Well, what if logs are between X and Y, and what if something else is depending on logs, but it's not actually making anything else, but then you still have to put it anyway. This is also one of those things that just kind of turns into a snowball of, and then you have no idea what you're doing. Learning automation is like doing math. Well, I mean, it literally is math. It's just computer math with human interface applied to it. So So the other problem is I can't really test this while I also have other things actually actively making stuff, unless I was going to do a separate district, but then I have to set up a district, and I don't want to deal with that. See, I don't know how to articulate, and this is bad because I went to school for communication. I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say about why I don't understand this, that's a problem. But I think, in terms of how the memory cell works, I think I understand that at this point. So if this needs to be set to there. So now this memory, if I automate this one to this memory, this one should be on because... Wait a minute. No, this shouldn't be on. If this memory... Unless... Oh, no, what happened was this was already... Alright, I gotta reset. Wait, no, it's still on. This should not be on. Because if resource counter 7, that's this. Wait a minute. Oh, this one got... Because, no, this one is... Okay, this is why this doesn't work. This is why this doesn't work, because this is always going to be on. If the threshold is... It does have to be set... It has to be set to this. It has to be set to this. Because this is always going to be on over 5%. So if this is not set to a relay that is going to prohibit that, it's always going to be on, and this is never going to shut off. So I was right. That's rare. This is, unfortunately and regrettably, the million log playthrough. I do not know that I'm going to be able to achieve that. It was supposed to be the help me learn automation playthrough, which we almost immediately abandoned when I got distracted by about 8 different things in the second or third live stream. Anyway, point being, this was a lot more simple than I thought it was, and now I understand how this works, at least for the set reset thing. I don't know, a toggle, I guess, is, well, maybe that's exactly what it says. I don't know what a latch does. Captures A while B is on. So maybe... Maybe, if we wanted to get rid of the relay, maybe latch would be what we'd want to do with the memory. Let's try that. So if we do this as A and this as B... Okay, so that does the exact same thing. That just eliminates the relay. captures A while B is on. So if B being on is this resource counter being less than 95%, then this, this memory cell will capture the output of this, which is greater than 5%. And since this is at over 100% storage, it's not going to turn this on, which means this being on is irrelevant to the memory. And then it resets when resource counter 8 is turned on. Oh, okay, well, no, that can't make sense. I might have to have a different thing to reset this, because I don't think I can have the thing... I can't have the operating condition to enable the thing also be the thing that resets it. I'm pretty sure. But in theory, this latch would work if I could figure out, if I could figure out another thing to reset it. So the reset would probably... No. Okay, I can't figure out a way to logic this. Captures A when B switches on. No. I guess set reset is the right way to be doing this. So that's gonna be that. And then it resets when this... Okay, well no, now that can't be how that works. Time-lapsing a live stream... It doesn't even... My computer no longer even keeps the recording locally. Because I was filling up my hard drives way too quickly. I think an hour... The way I have my recording stuff set up, I think an hour of footage is about... I don't even know. You know, I'm going to have to... I'm going to have to check. Let's see. Because I generally don't... I generally don't even take a look at this stuff. We're going to keep losing sound because I have to click outside of the game. Just bear with me here. Okay, it looks like an hour of recording for Timberborn stuff is about 5.5 gigabytes. And I currently have... Oh, man, I've got 15 or 20 hours of stuff recorded for Project 1K that I'm having the time-lapse. No, I'm not recording in 4K. I do not have a monitor that can display in 4K, and my video card is not good enough to play or record the game in 4K at greater than 60 FPS. And there was no way, when I built this computer, I was going to spend $2,000 on a... Well, at that point, there were $3,000 on a 5090 to play Timberborn. That's just completely insane. All the logs were using bulkhead flat cars. Oh, don't get me train stuff. We're never going to get anything done if we talk about trains. Well, since we're on the... No, stream is screwed now. Since we're on the subject, disconnect trucks are really, to my knowledge, only used on logging railroads. Center beam flat cars are used for stuff like drywall or sheet plywood or something like that. Bulkhead flat cars are probably not great for logs either. Skeleton cars, yes. So yes, unfortunately, the train bubble has been popped, and now we're doomed. But what I was attempting to do, for those of you just now joining, or recently joining, is I'm attempting to figure out how to use a memory cell in the game to solve the problem that I'm encountering in the video playthrough, where I have a low boundary, a high boundary, and then a relay that is currently activating all of those wood production things in that playthrough. But this one is set to turn on if the storage for, in this case, the storage... Wait, this one shouldn't be storage for planks. This should be storage for logs. That was the whole problem. Because this is the input that's going into this building. This is the output coming from this building. I can't believe it took me 25 minutes to figure out that I hadn't said that right. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So that's good. That's doing the right thing. That's doing the right thing. This is supposed to be... reset. There we go. So, this is the AND gate, which means if we have stuff to make, if we have stuff to consume and we have space to put a finished product, this will turn on. And this memory is supposed to turn on when the relay, which is this thing, activates, meaning the production circumstances are ideal, and it resets. It can't reset when the. This is why I feel like there was probably no other way to really do it, to integrate this into the game. But this is where I would really appreciate a vastly simplified version of this built into the buildings themselves. That would just, instead of having to set all this up, just be like, turn this, like a toggle that says, turn this building off when there's nowhere to put the stuff. Like, that would solve almost all of my problems without having to do all this. Is the river logging mod planned for the playthrough technically a water train? No, because there's no locomotive involved and there's no track. It's just going in the river. Unless you have to build a guideway, in which case I'm incorrect. You need to reset the set reset getter will stay on forever. Yep, well, no, we did that. The Max Planck Institute. You guys are funny. It's always... That's what I really like about these streams, is there's always, you know, there's always at least one person in chat who's got a really good sense of humor. Somewhat unrelated note, have you considered using the blueprints mod to simplify building? Yeah, so MP3Zilla, I don't think he's in chat currently, but he posted in the Discord could have been a couple months ago, about the blueprint mod. And I think that is going to be a fantastic thing for the game. I didn't want to put any mods on the video playthrough until 1.0 experimental and 1.0 full release were merged, so that there's basically no difference between the two, because then the mods are going to be more stable. And I think it's probably not too far away from that at this point. They are still putting some updates out. But the most annoying thing that happened in all these previous playthroughs when they changed the game around is I would have, I don't know, 20 or 30 mods on some of these, and they'd make a tiny update. It's like, oh, we changed the German translation of this thing, and then suddenly all the mods would break, even though there's no reason for that to happen, because that's how mods work, right? You're never going to know how something else is affected if you haven't considered edge cases, or anyway, whatever. So I said for this video series, I'm not going to have any crazy mods in here until we are absolutely certain nothing else is going to change. Let's see. Hello, all you new folks coming in. River can be considered a track, same with a hot dog as a sandwich. Okay, if we're going to get into theoretical classification stuff here, I am willing to entertain the hot dog is a sandwich argument, but with the caveat of, if someone said, hey, do you want a sandwich? And I said yes, and they handed me a hot dog, I'd look at them like they have three heads. Because that is not, when I hear the word sandwich, that is not what I think of, even if technically it's correct. Because cereal is a soup, right? It has all the same elements of soup, except it's not hot unless you have hot cereal, which, you know, most people in the U.S. call oatmeal. But if you asked me, do you want some soup, and I say sure, and you hand me a bowl of Cheerios, I'm going to look at you like you're insane, even if it's technically the same thing. So, sure, I guess a hot dog is a sandwich. I guess a taco is a sandwich. Does that make a burrito a calzone? No. Even though there's warm fillings inside of some sort of wheat or corn-derived thing around the outside, they're not the same thing. So, there's so many different logical, and here we go, logical arguments. That's what we're trying to figure out here. There's so many different logical arguments that you could have as a result of somebody saying, well, technically yes, but actually no, with all of this stuff. A hot dog wrapped in a slice of bread is considered a struggle meal. I think a calzone is a burrito, but again, VOD watchers are going to absolutely hate me for this. because we never ever get anything done in these live streams. But you know, that's part of the fun of the live streams is you get to interact with people. Could you test your setup with a tighter span? See, yeah, that was the other thing I was going to consider. So if we raise this, in this playthrough, we're already maxed on everything anyway, but we change this to 10%, and then we say 90%. And we can also, because these are going to be separate per resource, if we wanted to, in a way, prioritize certain types of things being made, we could have different thresholds for different things. So, like, if we're consuming planks to make both gears and treated planks, for example, but we wanted to prioritize making treated planks, then we could have the gears shut off when the gear storage gets to 90% and the treated planks shut off when the treated plank storage gets to 95%, or they could start, I know this says logs, but for the sake of the argument I'm making, we could have the gears start at 10% and the treated planks start at, say, 15, or vice versa. Like, in theory, I understand how this works, but in practice, it always fails. The coffee bean as a fruit is coffee tea. Technically, depending on how you want to go about it. Pop-Tarts are raviolis. I mean, by the definition of a ravioli being some sort of flour-based, not really a pastry, but it's still made out of the same stuff, containing some sort of filling, then sure. Coffee is bean soup? Okay, well, in my opinion, a soup requires other ingredients besides a broth. I would say coffee is a bean broth, because it does not have chunks in it. If your coffee has chunks in it, you're doing something wrong. Everything is a circle? Well, no, circles aren't even circles. Circles are just a whole bunch of straight lines between points, infinitely many points. Okay, let's actually try and do something here. Dominic says 1 logs greater than 5% counter. That's what we... Well, I did change this, but we'll put this back. Try and work through this. 2 is planks set at less than 80%. Okay. Planks full counter. Wait, what? Okay, I don't have enough things to do what you're saying. The memory is a set reset with A set to 2 and reset set to... Oh, okay, so you're saying we need a third resource counter. Okay, let's... so I can look at this in a straight line because monkey brain. Okay, I think I get what you're saying. So I'm going to want... I would want equals to 100% for the third resource counter, I think. And then I want the relay. I really should have kept these. That goes there. That goes there. And then I want the memory, which is going to go over here. Set, reset. Wait a minute. Okay, so no. Now I'm more confused. You've added like 3 things to this whole circuit here. If the first thing is a 5% counter, the second thing is a less than 80% counter, the third thing is a new counter that thinks if it's full. And then you have memory set reset with A set to 2, 2 being the less than 80%, and reset set to 3, meaning it's full. If that's the case, then you don't need, unless... Oh god, why is this so confusing? Oh. So I don't need the relay until after the memory? I think. If that is 1 and the memory. Okay, let's reset. And then that sets to this. Alright, I'm not going to rename all these because I'm sure I'm just going to be deleting and rebuilding them. That's a pain in the butt. we call this 1, we call this 2, we call this 3, we call this 4. I'm sorry, I had it in the wrong spot. We call this 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And then the message said 4, but this is supposed to be 5. I'm so bad at explaining this, but I think this is actually working correctly. Because the desired outcome has been achieved regardless. This is paused because we're completely full on storage for planks. And this is currently set to reset, meaning it's off, but it's just continuously resetting because the state for reset is active. Resource counter 9 being the plank is equal to 100, even though it's technically higher than 100. It's going to read it anyway, whatever. So that's reset, which means this is off, which means this is off. But now the problem I have is I have too many planks to know if this is actually working. So why don't we build a couple of these, have those expand the amount of planks that we can store, and see if this trips. Sushi is a burrito in slices. I feel like the Japanese would be very upset if you said that. Hot dog and bread would be considered sad. No, that's just what, you know, if you don't have any money, that's what you do. Hot dogs are cheap, but hot dog buns can be expensive because they never sell them in the same interval as the hot dog packs, right? The hot dog bun you can buy in sets of 8 a lot of the time. And hot dogs a lot of the time come in a set of 10. So you have to buy 4 sets. You got to buy 4 sets of hot dogs and 5 sets of buns to have an equal number of hot dogs and buns, or else you're constantly playing catch-up. Or, no pun intended, I guess. Or you just buy the hot dogs and you put it in a slice of bread because nothing really matters, because the hot dog bun, the cheap one, is literally just white bread with a different form factor. I'm not really a big hot dog person anyway. Does that mean your brain is technically a soup? Probably not. Buns only function with base 8 math. Yep, there you go. 10 hot dogs allows for 2 for the dog. Okay, fair enough. But if you don't have a dog... I've doubled up hot dogs in 1 bun before. Depending on the size of the hot dogs. Anyway, we need to actually, attempt to get something done here. I feel like this is not going to be enough of these to actually make much of a difference here. But I do want to see if this is going to flip off and... Oh, this is only... Okay, that only changed it to 98%. Okay. So that's not going to work until I change the threshold, which, yeah. I buy more bun to hot dog, use the extra for cheese sandwiches. Yep, that's also something you can do. I always got really annoyed. I don't even really buy that many groceries anymore because I'm not really home enough at mealtime to justify actually cooking a lot of stuff. I can just do something real cheap while I'm out because I have no standards for sustenance. But it is annoying to have leftover hot dog buns because there's not a lot you can easily do with a hot dog bun that doesn't feel wrong. Like, sure, you can cook a hamburger and cut it in half and put it in a hot dog bun. It's like, there's just something fundamentally unsettling about that, though. And I've also done, the hot dog buns with peanut butter and jelly on them, which also feels wrong. More importantly, who gets the double dog if you're feeding a group? I don't know, I've never really thought about that. It hasn't ever really been an issue with people that I've been around. It's just, hey, this is extra, who wants it? And then somebody takes it. Hot dog bun equals mini sub. I mean, yeah, sure. But the surface area is so low that if you have lunch meat, you're going to have to fold that stuff like 3 times per slice. Or you just have the whole thing hanging all the way out, and then that's just a mess. Bun says garlic toast with SpaghettiOs. Okay. That is a cry for help, first of all. Uh, but now I kind of want to try that. Oh no. I'm gonna roll into the Kroger as a 34-year-old man buying a can of SpaghettiOs. Unironically to try something. 2 open hot dog buns can make a McRib. You know you can buy the oh, who makes those? You can buy it's probably not exactly the same. I am very hungry. I think it's not exactly the same, but you can get, they call it shaped pork patties or whatever. But I can't remember what the brand is. You can buy those at the grocery store. I am not putting that into my Google because I'm going to get ads for the McRib for like the next 3 weeks. Anyway, it's some brand that starts with a C in the United States. It's a brand that starts with C and has like a blue ribbon logo with their name on it. I don't know what it is. But I digress. The attempt here that was made, I think, is successful, except I can't test all circumstances of it because we just have way too many planks. No, Cisco's a router brand. If you're talking about the food service brand, SYSCO, you can't buy their stuff in a regular grocery store. You have to go through them directly. And that's not something that regular people can just do. Anyway, so to utilize the memory with this, I would essentially have to completely redo the entire setup from scratch in the video series. And I don't know that I want to do that. I've got to figure something out. And now my brain kind of hurts. Regardless, I think this works. Why in the world did YouTube censor that? Oh, it's probably because you said Hooters in it. AI moderation is garbage. Cisco is not in every place because some places use US Foods, which is a separate company. But yeah, people love to go on the internet and say, oh, everything Cisco makes is garbage. It's like, well, no. But if your restaurant buys the garbage from the catalog, then yes, it's garbage. They got everything from prison food to like 5-star Michelin restaurant supply stuff. Like, I promise you, a lot of these places are buying from either Cisco or US Foods, and there's other produce distributors that can be more regional. Encore, that might be what it is, yeah. Okay, Encore makes sense because then I wanted to say Concor, but Concor was a model train manufacturer from the 70s, which would not make sense for them to be making shaped pork patties for sale in the freezer section of a supermarket. But yes, it's, look, Cisco just sells food. They sell food to restaurants. They sell food to prisons. They sell food to schools. They sell food to retirement homes. They sell food to hospitals. They sell food to 5-star restaurants. It's just what you do with it and the quality of the stuff you're buying. Like, you can buy good stuff. You can buy garbage. But people get brain rotted because they saw something on TikTok or whatever. Yeah, Restaurant Depot also exists. Why haven't we unlocked all in the automation tab? Because if I unlock something that I'm not planning to use, I'm going to forget that I need to be planning to use it. So object permanence is difficult. We played with fireworks and the other thing. I don't need to test those. I don't have any sounds set up to play on a speaker, so I haven't had that. We've already done detonator stuff. I'm afraid of these two without knowing exactly what I'm doing. Contamination sensors we've already messed with. Flow sensors we've already messed with. And then the lever I don't know that I would ever use. Unless it was to launch fireworks or something. Costco, yes. A lot of smaller independent places will shop at Costco for food service things. And you can buy a lot of similar things that you can get from a Restaurant Depot or a Cisco or a US Foods or whatever from Costco. But they're obviously not going to have everything. Oh yeah, the utter buffoon. There was one that Kurt sent me. He wanted me to turn into a sound clip. Yeah, Costco Business is a good one. Let's try to remember what I was doing here. I think I had this set... yeah, okay, so that one goes all the way outside. That one goes all the way outside. I was trying to do diversions of things. Ah! Okay, we hadn't started this yet. That is one of the things that I was trying to do. Get this all the way down. Yeah, see, I want this to be able to go off the side of the map, because I'm trying to prevent all the bad water from coming through here so I can fill some of this in so I can build the stupid million log thing. I wish I had time to watch Eld streams. I'm also kind of ashamed to admit that I don't really watch that many people's stuff. Partly because I don't have time, and partly because I don't want it to turn into something where I'm just seeing someone do something like, oh, I want to do that, and then it's, oh, you copied so-and-so. Like, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. Gary, hello! And thank you very much for supporting the channel with 10 gifted memberships. Get some folks on the Beard Booster list. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm not going to be able to pronounce any of these names. Give me a second to try and read here. Alk Hacknar, Trinity69, George Goring. Okay, that's a name we've seen before. Wolf Canada, Sox Bear Fan, Elise Clompe, Gareth Chronicler 42, Dylan Bulwari. I'm pretty sure that's what that would be. And then the Bobbist Bob. The Bobbist. The most Bob who has ever bobbed in the history of Bobs. Welcome to the Beard Boosters. Welcome back to at least a couple of those names. And thank you, Gary, for supporting. Hope you're having a good day. Oh, that's the wrong button. I need them to come up here and actually get to work here. How am I going to route this? Because this is... Oh, I think what I was going to do is have this come out this way. But I destroyed my... I destroyed my access. But this would definitely make sense as a 4 wide here. And then that would go here. If I plan this out right, I probably could actually have a decent setup. I just don't know exactly what I'm doing all the time. So that's going to be easier to go this way. Because I know I'm going to forget. Yeah. Hoff has once again been ignored by the RNG. It is a good opportunity to remind everyone to make sure gift membership receipts are turned on. There's the 3 dots near the top of chat, I think, usually. And you can click on that, and there should be a setting there. Or alternatively, if you click join, then there will be an option there without you actually, you know, initiating a payment process. There will be a thing to turn on gifted membership. I think it depends on what platform you're using it from. Downloaded the Down the Plug Hole map a while ago to try, but I've noticed the cycles have started to differentiate from the cycles in the series. Yeah, those are always random. No 2 playthroughs are going to be the same. So you won't get exactly what I get, because the game will decide before it rolls the thing here. It'll decide what season you're going to get and what length it's going to get. So you're never going to have exactly the same thing as what I do. But the map itself is also different because I somehow got a pre-release version of it that was uploaded, maybe by mistake, I don't know, that had the extra resources, the dynamite, the extract, all that. That's not supposed to be in the final version of the map. So that is what it is. It needs to be, I think, yeah, it needs to be a triple. And then I got to send them down here to actually build these tunnels out. I'm afraid to do this because I don't want the beavers to get contaminated all at once, because that's very annoying to deal with. Hav isn't soft banned from gift subs. I think YouTube just hates him. Which is funny because he's been in live streams for literally years. Going all the way back to, I think, like 2022, maybe? He's been around for a long time. Before we get too comfy here, I do need to make sure I can actually get down and start building some of this stuff out. Is that going to get me all the way to the bottom? Yes. So to actually get in here in a way that is going to be meaningful, I think it makes the most sense to have this actually expanded. And I can always just make it filled in later. And then I can just have this go straight down. Teco Chavez, thank you very much for joining the Beard Boosters and supporting the channel. I appreciate you. You think you downloaded the same one as I have, the extra resources? Okay, yeah. If you had it when I started the series, within like a couple of days of that, then you probably do have the original one. I prefer gift sandwiches. As long as they're hot dogs, right? The only gift memberships I ever got years ago on the channel, I haven't gotten on any other channel. Oh, you know what? I can gift memberships. I get a certain amount per month. I forget how many it is. But let me try this real quick. I have 10 gift memberships left to send this month. Send 5 now. Who's got the first 5? Gamer Badger 82. There's no spaces whatsoever in this, so I have no idea what the pronunciation is. Sanjusajeev, maybe? I apologize if I'm butchering people's names. I just genuinely do not know. JRose767 Noodles NBF6R for UGDD. No idea how that would be pronounced, but welcome on behalf of YouTube, costing me absolutely nothing. No, you cannot name people. It's not like Twitch. Okay, I've got 5 more. Got 5 more. Well, let's see who it gives. Who gives them to? Mr. Axelin, possibly. Super Meow 1769. Rohan Ward 7011. Shmeny Jeans and Mothbot 9461. Welcome to the boosters. On behalf of YouTube, costing me absolutely nothing to give you those for free. Now, to do what I think I have to be doing here, I'm gonna have to think about this. If that goes on that one, then I have to have that one go there. This level goes here, which means this, I think should be this. That makes sense. And then this would be, yeah, 2. We played this before, and honestly, at some point pretty soon, I'm probably just going to get, the ladder mod and be done with it. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be, oh. I hate it when that happens. Alright, so, I know I do have to have this set up this way, but this is going to have to get changed over. That's going to get turned into this. Yeah, we're just going to have to let them, come over here and take care of all this stuff. Yep. It is once again completely random based on who has ever interacted with a live stream, even if they haven't said anything, if they've clicked on it or whatever. So in the past 5 years of me doing live streams, there's been probably, I don't know, between 5,000 and 10,000 unique people that have watched these. Possibly more. In terms of active chatters, it's probably only a few hundred names, but lots and lots and lots of folks have come in here. And it's going to pull from all that. So, is what it is. But I will try to remember every month to dole out those 10 free gift memberships. Now, I will say again, there's not going to be probably another live stream on this series until at least a month from now. We will see what happens. But there will still be videos. So you will get your names in the videos, and you'll get the, for most of them, early access. I may end up changing some slightly, because I'm going to be taking some time off, and completely off. Not the whole, oh, I'm going to take my laptop and a pillow fort and a Holiday Inn Express and try to record a crappy video. No. I'll record some in advance, but there will be a period of about 2.5 weeks where I will be completely off of YouTube. Because I have never taken an actual vacation, and I'm very tired. But we will, we'll see what we're able to cook up here. Okay, that's got to be... I'll just put it triple, it doesn't matter. Just got to let them build the rest of this staircase here. No, I know they can't reach the further dynamite, but I have to have this one done first. Maybe we can use 2 ways instead of... How could I possibly forget that I have... Okay, okay, I remember now. No, we're good. Because I don't have any mods on this. This is the only tube-way station I have, and I would have to create a giant thing at the very bottom anyway. So, crisis averted. We can't actually do anything with these. I have not done the Durango-Silverton train, no. I am not going to do recreational drugs in the desert. I actually probably shouldn't say exactly what I'm doing or how long it's going to be for, you know, safety, security reasons. But there will be a period of time where I will be inaccessible from YouTube. Yeah, I've really struggled for a long time on justifying taking time off because, selfishly, if I take time off, I don't make any money, which causes problems because I have bills I have to pay. And you can't do those if you don't have income coming in. So part of the problem, and I say problem, you know, in the context of all of this stuff, it's not actually a problem because this is a really, really fun job that does not require a lot of misery like so many other careers do. But the way YouTube works is you upload and you get paid. If you don't upload, you don't get paid. And you get paid... It's about 3 weeks after the close of the month, and it's based on everything that happens in that month. So say for example, and this is not what's going to happen, but say, for example, I did not upload a single video the entire month of May. I would still get paid toward the end of May, but it would be for everything that I've done in April. What would happen then if I didn't do anything in the month of May is in June... The money that I would get toward the end of June would be basically nothing. Which, you know, bills don't care what you did or did not do to earn money. They still need to be paid. So I have to be very careful. The duration and the frequency of periods that I do not upload in really cannot be very long, or else things go really bad really quick. So I've tried very hard for the past 5 years to never... miss more than a couple days without uploading something. You can schedule videos in advance, yes. And I've done that several times. But it becomes challenging depending on what it is you're doing. And specifically the style of videos that I like to do, which is have people comment on stuff, make suggestions, and then I go off of that. Cannot be done if I'm recording... say, videos for 2 weeks in advance, then I can't have any input on any of those videos that are recorded in that time, because by the time someone sees the first video that will go up while I'm not here, I will have already recorded that maybe a couple weeks prior, and then there will not be a period of time available for anyone to comment on the most recent video in that until possibly sometimes a month or a month and a half after I've already recorded the video. Which, you know, for most people who upload, say, variety content or whatever, they're probably recording stuff a month in advance, and then they ship it off to their editor, and then it just goes up whenever. But I've always tried very hard not to do stuff like that, because I like the human interaction, and that does, in very specific circumstances, cause a lot of problems. in terms of being able to take time away. If you've ever owned your own business, which YouTube technically isn't, but in some ways is kind of like owning a franchise, you know that if you're not there, bad stuff happens. It's like having a very unpredictable store where you don't know any given day, you don't know who's going to come in, you don't know what they're going to buy, but you know that if the door is not open, you're not going to make any money. I was thinking about doing 3 or 4 videos a week for that time. Yes, RCT is very easy to make in advance. But the caveat with that is, if I do too many Roller Coaster Tycoon videos, then YouTube is going to absolutely slaughter me. Because the algorithm, from what I understand, bases future video reach on the most recent 10 videos that you upload. So the reason Roller Coaster Tycoon works is because while the audience for those is extremely small, the people who watch them watch the whole video, generally speaking. They watch the whole video, a lot of them leave comments, they engage, and they really appreciate having those up. And I appreciate making them. I love the game and I enjoy the process of, doing all the scenarios. But if I were to do nothing but upload Roller Coaster Tycoon for 3 times a week for 3 weeks, that's the entire queue upon which YouTube bases future distribution of videos. And a lot of subscribers would not see the next video I uploaded because it would think, oh, well, nobody cares about these videos, we're going to stop promoting it. Even though the people who do watch the videos really like them, it's just, simple math that Roller Coaster Tycoon videos, in general, perform about 10% of the Timberborn videos in terms of statistics. That's just the way that goes. And I can get away with 1 of those per week, maybe 2, but not for longer than 2 weeks. I'd have to have other stuff, which is why I have the colony submission stuff that I'm working on. I can probably, without disrupting things too much, because the Folktales playthrough is far enough along, I could probably record 3 of those in advance without too much, nonsense happening, because we've already gotten through the most challenging parts of the game. It's just finishing projects X, Y, Z, and I can do a couple of those, and I can space those out because people are still interested in watching those. But it does become a problem when you have too much of one thing and not enough of the stuff that YouTube thinks your audience actually cares about. I hope that makes sense. And I also hope it doesn't come across as me complaining, but it is a legitimate problem I have to consider. Since I have built so much of what I do around this channel being successful, and it has been very successful relative to the size of the audience and what I'm uploading. It's unbelievable, like the amount of favor that YouTube has given me specifically. But if that slips to the point where the audience on my normal Timberborn videos gets cut in half, then it's time to talk about maybe retiring. Just from a time investment versus things I need to pay for in real life. Car Park Capital, I have not. Okay, the thing, alright, and without getting into politics, because that's always a mistake in YouTube live chat, if American YouTubers attempted to organize a union, Google would shut down the servers immediately and kill the whole website. This country is allergic to any of that stuff. You have to use customer thoughts to see if people are unhappy with rides or if they think it's a good value. As long as they collectively think it's a good value, you can raise the price. Yeah, but then you have to constantly monitor stuff, and if I'm trying to do a whole scenario in an hour-long video, then that quickly becomes impossible. I do have a Twitch. I have not streamed in like 3 or 4 years. And I've been wanting to, for a very long time, get back to streaming on Twitch, but it has just not worked. I've not really had the time or the energy to do too much over there. I'm not going to say never, but we'll see. Twitch also has a very unfavorable payment structure where they take 50% of everything versus YouTube that takes 30%. And discoverability on Twitch is very bad. unless you're playing like the most popular thing at the moment. Basically, no one's going to watch anything. You have to bring an audience from somewhere else if you are a smaller creator on Twitch. Which, hey, I've got 24,000 subscribers on YouTube, so theoretically, if I did something on Twitch, then maybe those people would want to go watch. But you also need to consider that the audience here on YouTube, 95% of people who have subscribed or watched these videos literally only care about the beavers. If I do anything else, they will not watch it. So from a perspective of the economy of time, it almost becomes impossible for me to justify spending 3, 4, 5 hours, even one day a week, streaming on Twitch when I could be using that time to make beaver videos that people are actually going to watch and YouTube is going to, quote-unquote, reward me for. While also doing all the stuff I do outside of YouTube and attempting to, exist as a human being. It is challenging to do things without an editor, but I don't want to edit down my videos because then, as soon as you give up editorial control, you lose everything in terms of what makes your videos your specific style of videos. And then you have to change stuff around and, hey, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But you also have to pay editors, too. Which, as someone who has done that for money and went to school for doing that for money, I am never going to pay somebody poverty wages to do work for me. If that's the thing that has to happen for the channel to succeed, I'm just going to do the work. I'm not going to pay somebody like $5 an hour, which isn't even legal in the United States, but beside the point. I'm not going to pay somebody, say, $5 an hour to make edits on a video when I know actual skilled professional editors demand many, many, many times more dollars per hour. And they do good work, and they work quickly, and they know exactly how to make something that is worth watching. But that's very expensive, and right now the videos don't even cover the cost of that. The only thing I know about Kick is that they had a whole lot of people who were doing extremely bad stuff migrate to that platform because that platform did not enforce anything, and I don't want to be part of that. Yeah, when I figured out how much mandatory time off and all these other things that Europeans get, I got really mad. But, it is what it is. You have to be careful about what you advocate for on this platform because a lot of people will just jump at you with guns drawn if you say something even remotely critical about anything. Yeah, the problem with the percentage is, okay, let me actually look this up. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to give exact numbers on some of this stuff. But, oh, I'm on the wrong YouTube account. Hold on. Let's switch to this one. And I'm going to look up actually, you know what? Because we were just talking about it, I'm going to pull up the most recent Roller Coaster Tycoon video. Scenario 56, Crater Lake. Published on April 12th, which was 6 days ago. It has gotten 712 views, and it has gotten view duration of 23 minutes and 36 seconds, which is about between 30% or so, about 30%. Which compared to the average video on a channel, we'll say 712 views. YouTube says that is 1,300 less than usual, meaning an average video in the same time frame, 6 days, is getting about 2,000 views. The Roller Coaster Tycoon video is getting 700. In terms of watch hours, that video in 6 days has 280 watch hours, which is 479 less than usual, meaning the average Beaver video, because that's most of what I upload, is somewhere around 700, 750 hours in 6 days. The Roller Coaster Tycoon video has made $7, which, given the amount of people that have watched that video, is really good. But, for example, if I were going to hire an editor to cut that video down, it's an hour and 13 minutes. If I were going to hire an editor to cut that video down to, say, 20 minutes, and the video only made $7, and I were paying an editor on percentage, I don't know anyone on the face of this earth, living or dead, in the last 10 years or so, because inflation, whatever, who would willingly do any amount of editing work for even half of that. Like, if you said, hey, I'll pay you $3.50 to spend 4 hours cutting down this video to 30 minutes, I'd laugh at you. Like, no. In no circumstance is that a beneficial arrangement for anyone involved. Now, the Beaver videos do substantially better than those, but just to give you an idea, that's, even if I were making, and I don't think I've ever had a video that's made this much for one video. If I had a video, hypothetically, that made $1,000, if I paid an editor actual, for sake of argument, actual union editor rates in the United States, that would be probably a third of that video's revenue would go to the editor, assuming the performance would be the same, which, hey, you know what? That is probably fair. But as soon as you start doing that, then people have expectations that are very hard to meet in a type of working environment that's feast or famine like this. People want stability. And I can't provide that to anybody. I can't even really provide it for myself. So that's kind of why I've reached the sweet spot where I just do absolutely everything, and if I can't do it, it doesn't get done. And I decided very early on I did not want to edit the videos. One, because, well, I want to see the whole thing. If I'm watching somebody play a game, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, or I just want to understand the process. I want to see everything. I don't want to see stuff cut like, oh, I did some, what's the Minecraft meme? I did some mining off camera, and then they turn around and half the map's gone. Like, what? No, I want to see what you're actually doing. Anyway, so by not having to cut the video down, that saves me a tremendous amount of time. But it still takes me 4, 5, 6 hours a day sometimes to make a video, because I've got to go and update all the listing stuff and everything. Anyway, very, 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 very long story short, hiring someone is a non-starter unless I had the ability to pay them a very fair full-time wage, which also requires paying out benefits and setting up all these different corporate structures, and then that changes your taxation scheme, and then at that point you're a company. And it's something that you absolutely cannot stop doing, or multiple people are suffering. And I'm also not going to exploit somebody who is more passionate than they should be about something that is realistically not going to be a viable source of income. Does time watched help more than views? It depends. There was I think it was a Spiffing Brit video from a couple years ago, where he tried to game the algorithm by convincing everyone who watched the video to watch it at 0.25 times speed, which would inflate the watch time statistics and then promote the video, because it's like, oh, a bunch of people are watching the video. Like, well, no, it's a 7-minute video. And he told everybody to watch it 0.25 times speed. So the 7-minute video theoretically could have had an average view duration of 28 minutes. I think YouTube fixed that. But generally speaking, watch time higher is better, because that's a percentage of the video watched, which makes YouTube think you like the video or whatever. Until you go to millions of subs, and now he's making a lot more than he's ever had in his life. Some people like to edit as a hobby. Yes, they do. But as someone who went to school for it and had aspirations prior to the pandemic of, doing that professionally, I don't want to put somebody in a position to be putting forth that amount of effort doing that quality of work where it is not a sustainable full-time job. It is worth, reminding people that, the bigger YouTubers that have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, or whatever, most of those people do have actual paid staff. And there does come a point where you kind of have to be a little bit more hands-off, which, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It depends on how you value what your content is. It depends very heavily on what type of content it is and your relationship with your audience. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, then it really doesn't. But a lot of those people who are that size also take sponsorships, which I really don't want to do, because I don't want to be just shilling a product that I don't use or appreciate just so I can pay my bills. I'd rather just not do that. And again, these people who do that, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that is not something that aligns with my personal value statement. And I have in the past considered taking sponsorships. I've looked at the contract offers. I've looked at all these things, and they have talking points about this, that, and the other. Like, this is just, a lot of this is just blatant dishonesty. It is, it's just a reality of life at this point for most things. Most people on the internet who are trying to sell you a product, who are doing sponsored videos or whatever, probably aren't using those things, and sometimes they are. But a lot of the time, they're not. Or they might use it for like a day to get familiar with it, or like, oh, you can play this game, but they're not playing that game. They don't have time to play that game. They get just a regular account, and they might play it for like an hour. They might have someone at the company play an account on their behalf. It's like, okay. Nobody's playing Raid Shadow Legends. Nobody's playing it. You know how much money they spent on doing so much saturation marketing to convince you that every YouTuber is playing? None of them are playing the game. And I must have seen 1,000 ads for Raid Shadow Legends baked into videos, and these people are doing these smarmy, fake enthusiasm thing. Like, no. Nobody's playing this game. I don't know where they got the money for that. I know what they're paying people for it. For some of those people, it was unbelievable sums of money. Those people were not playing the game. So what are you trying to do? What kind of relationship are you forming with your audience when you say, oh, I absolutely love this game, like you haven't even played it? What are you doing? Gary, thanks very much for the contribution to the vacation fund. I won't say where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I will say that it's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope people like some of the stuff I'm going to do with it. Okay, the train channel's different. If Deutsche Bahn tried to sponsor me, I'd tell them to try and fix their scheduling before they send me any money. But the train channel, I have been approached by, not like railroad companies, but I've been approached by multiple people in the model railroading space to do sponsored content, and I have considered it. And some of them I probably would, because they're services or products that I actually do use and I enjoy. But I do want to be very careful with stuff like that. You might be the first person I have ever seen say that they actually play Raid Shadow Legends. Legitimately. I have never in my entire life had anyone say that they actually do. Yes, venture capital. Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous topic to try and get me on a soapbox for. But, yeah. Again, I'm not going to tell you what these companies were who've been contacting me about train stuff, but I haven't had time to make videos for that channel. And I did have a sponsorship deal lined up that I had to back out of because I did not have the time to make a quality video. And it's something that I had used and enjoyed. And I would absolutely say that people should, check out. But because I was not able to actually put the effort into doing it properly, I just like, you know what? I can't. I don't want to half-ass it, to borrow a phrase from people who censor themselves less than I do in live streams. Anyway. I appreciate it, Trinitron. Thank you. I got a Trinitron in my basement. I need to hook back up and play video games on it. You know how much money people are getting for those things now? Because people keep throwing out CRTs. Then someone figured out, hey, Sony actually made some really good tubes. People want to keep those for retro gaming or nostalgic sakes or whatever. Hi from Germany. Yes. I would love to go to Germany and ride Deutsche Bahn. But that's expensive. I just like trains, man. But the other thing about sponsors on the train channel is now, because I own a model train store online, I don't have a physical shop. I don't have as much incentive to actually take sponsorships, because for products, a lot of those things I can just buy as a dealer from the manufacturer or from a master distributor directly. So I don't need to take sponsor money because I can just say, hey, if you like my videos and you want to buy this, you can buy it from me, and I'll get a lot more money from one person specifically than I would from taking sponsorship money to just try and say, hey, buy XYZ product. So in a way, that's kind of liberating. So you don't have to be so worried about what an individual company has like control over you in terms of what you're saying. You just sell a product. People like the product. They like it. If they don't, then whatever. But if someone says, hey, I want you to promote product XYZ and I'm going to give you a huge amount of money for it, then okay, even if you say your reviews are unbiased, the one who controls the purse strings controls the narrative. That's just every facet of life, advertising or society, culture, politics, whatever. If you control the money, you control what people are allowed to be told, because you control the people who are saying it. So, hey, if the product is good, then maybe that's not a bad thing. But anytime someone receives payment in exchange for saying something, you really have to be careful how much you trust them. And I don't want to be personally in a position where I have my ethics, my morals, whatever, compromised for the sake of a paycheck. Part of the reason why I decided not to go into the professional field I studied in college, because that landscape was changing in a very bad way, and partly because the way I do the videos I do makes it so that I'm pretty much immune from any of that stuff, because I'm just a guy playing with beavers on the internet. Like, I'm not taking a paycheck from company XYZ to promote whatever. Make sure the caps are fine on the control board. The set is from the early 2000s. It's one of the newer ones. Want to get into model trains for years, but I find it cost prohibitive. Do you have any suggestions to start? Unfortunately, it is cost prohibitive. It's just an expensive hobby if you buy new. But you can, if you live in an area that has model train shows, you can go to some of those and sometimes find really, really cheap older stuff that's not going to be super complicated, not going to be really high detail. But you can find something that you can run on a loop of track just with some maybe lower quality locomotives, rolling stock, whatever, that you could do something with a lot cheaper than you would be buying something new. But that also comes with the risks of maybe something is not going to work right, or it's going to be low quality enough where it's frustrating and it gets you to the point where you don't want to do anything anymore. I would suggest, stuff's expensive, but if you are wanting to get into model trains, I would probably suggest going HO scale and getting a starter set from a company like Bachmann or Walthers. But those are still going to be, to people who are outside of the hobby, that's going to be expensive. But most of those, MSRP for some of those is in the $200 to $300 range. You can usually find them a lot cheaper. I'd sell you one. I don't have one. But you can find them sometimes, depending on where you are in the world. In the U.S., stores sometimes like Menards, if you're in the Midwest, will have model train products. They'll have some of those starter sets. They have their own things. Hobby Lobby used to carry starter sets. I haven't been in one of those stores in years. I couldn't tell you. But obviously local hobby shops, of which there are vanishingly few, will have those. Let me do a little bit more here to get this cleaned up before we don't have anything else happening in here. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. But yeah, if you are brand new starting out in the hobby, then I would personally rather someone, spend whatever they can on a good quality starter set so they're not just immediately frustrated to the point of wanting to quit. But if that's out of reach, you can always find something cheaper. You just have to hunt for it. I am very behind on chat. Give me one moment to scroll up, because I want to make sure I'm not ignoring anybody here. I will say, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, avoid Lionel at all costs, because, one, the new stuff I don't think is nearly as good as the old stuff is. And the old stuff, everybody thinks it's worth $1 billion because they heard a story about, oh, somebody's model train collection brought $100,000 at auction. Like, well, you're never going to get that much money for something unless you have the exact right buyer and you have something really rare. most used model trains are borderline just e-waste. Unless it's something you're specifically looking for, because a lot of people don't take care of their stuff. And a lot of older equipment, in the eyes of modern, well, collectors, quote-unquote, modern people in the modern hobby really don't like the simple older stuff. They want the newer stuff that has a lot of details and has all the features and the computer control with the sounds and everything. So you say like a newer person in the hobby is not going to care about something from the 1950s with a rubber band drive in it, but somebody who appreciates that stuff is going to pay what's worth, which to them might be a lot higher. And a new person in the hobby might not, know how to work on equipment like that, might not understand how it works, might get frustrated when it takes a little bit more than, a couple of minutes and reading an instruction manual to get it working correctly, because you got to take stuff apart, you got to clean contacts on the motors and everything. It's just, you're going to get out of it what you put into it, and there does come a point where you just kind of have to commit to spending the money. So now that we've had like a 15-minute detour in model train stuff, thanks for providing information and entertainment at the same time. Love from India. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Oh, okay. You sent another message before that got buried. Watch your videos. Other than yours, it's RCE. I like the way you go into details to explain the mechanics of the game. I try. And I will be the first person to tell you that I really kind of don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time. But I will always try to talk through what I'm doing to see if that helps anybody who's trying to figure other stuff out. So let's get that removed. A lot of these planks on the ground are just going to, go away because I don't have storage space for them. But that has been diverted. This over here is probably the next thing we have to take care of. But this is currently poisoned. So I would be hesitant to blast this out. In fact, I think what might actually make more sense for right now is to just connect these. And, okay, we got another drought coming in. I just want them to be able to actually have all of this rerouted. And I think that's, yeah, that one's done. This one's done. So this one and this one are the only ones left. So we'll let them do that. If we're going to sit here and, talk about stuff, might as well give them something to do while we're doing that. On the other hand, there are companies out there that do sponsorships without any input, what you can and cannot say because they're confident in their own product. Yeah, that is a thing. I'm trying to parse your name here. Shizuka Akakatsu, I think is how that's pronounced. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was just trying to figure out like where the word split is in there, because I'm learning some Japanese. I haven't gotten a whole lot, but I recognize what that was. Hornby's a major UK brand. Yeah, Hornby has gotten themselves in some trouble with some people online, with accusations of greed and putting out substandard products. But yeah, Hornby is probably one of the more famous UK brands. We don't really have them in the United States, but they have a very, very long history in the hobby, and a whole lot of people really like their stuff. Every Christmas I come back to the model trains, and every Christmas I put it off. Hey, you can have as much or as little as you want when you're dealing with stuff like that. A whole lot of people, the only experience they're going to have with model trains is they've got a simple set they just put around the Christmas tree or whatever. And that's perfectly fine. You can have a lot of fun with a very simple, inexpensive setup. If that's what you want out of it, then that's what you can do. But once you go, what's the Pringles ad? Once you pop, you can't stop. Once you go and spend money on a real high quality train set or a locomotive or whatever, you're not going to want to go back, and it's going to be very expensive very quickly. Very quickly. And yeah, a lot of newer stuff, not universally, a lot of newer model railroad products are DCC ready, which for those of you who aren't in the hobby, you have no idea what I'm talking about. DC, direct current, is you got a positive wire, you got a negative wire, they go to one rail, one goes to the other rail, and then the train locomotive has a motor in it that receives DC power, direct current power from a power pack, And the higher the knob on the power pack goes, the more current goes to the motor, the faster the locomotive goes. That's the most simple form of model train control. Now, I know there's stuff with batteries and all that. Well, we're not talking about that right now. DCC, digital command control. Some people have other words they put in that acronym. But DCC puts a computer chip in a locomotive that interprets signals from a command station, and it's powered. It actually, what goes to the track is AC, alternating current power. That's a constant thing. So like your lights on your passenger cars, if those are connected to whatever, is always going to be on. And the locomotive receives pulses from the control station, and then it'll raise or lower the speed. It'll activate different lights. If it has a sound chip installed, then it'll blow the horn. It'll have the bells and whistles and everything. But those are substantially more expensive. So what a lot of the manufacturers have been doing is they've offered, in all of their new locomotive releases, they've offered a couple different versions. One is just regular DC with the normal control scheme that model trains have used for 75 years. And they'll sometimes pre-install a speaker, but not hook it up. They'll just put it in there so the space is reserved and you don't have to go cutting parts of the chassis out or anything like that. But they'll pre-wire a socket for a decoder to get plugged into. Just literally like if you've ever assembled your own computer, like you put the RAM in the RAM slot, you put the processor in the processor thing. It's basically just like that if you're going to put a decoder. That's what it's called. It's called a decoder because it decodes the signals that the command station... Anyway, whatever. Point being, a lot of the manufacturers will make it possible for you to upgrade those relatively quickly. You still have to buy the decoder, and sometimes that can cost as much as the locomotive itself. But if you're somebody who, invests money in quality equipment, you want to keep it around for a super long time, that's really not that big of a deal. Let's see, what else? What else was I going to say? But yeah, a lot of the new stuff, Hornby does this on most of their models, not all of them, but they'll say it's DCC ready, which means it's just regular DC, but it has the decoder socket in there. You can plug one in, and sometimes it'll have a speaker. Older stuff was made well, will outlast any of the new stuff. It depends. Generally speaking, yes, but there's certain circumstances where that isn't necessarily true. But it depends. Older DCC stuff, not good. Really, really not good. Because a lot of the older style decoders weren't necessarily standardized the same way, and especially sound decoders. It can be very, very frustrating to try and figure out if you have something that's really old. But old motors, if they were good motors, are good. A lot of older model trains in HO scale, especially from manufacturers like, say, Bachmann, or someone who, until maybe the last 10 or 15 years, did not have a good reputation for quality, will use really bad quality motors, a different type of, a different style motor, like a pancake motor. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But when you think of an electric motor, what you're probably thinking of is called a can motor, because it's shaped, well, like a can of soda or whatever, and it has an axle that comes out, or shaft, I shouldn't say an axle, a shaft that comes out of one, sometimes both ends. That's a can motor. Those are almost always much more reliable. A pancake motor is, well, shaped like a pancake. It's a big, wide, flat thing that'll fit in certain types of form factors a lot better. But those almost always were just complete garbage. They would run really poorly. They'd oxidize the contacts and the different parts of the motor. The why can't I remember what those things are called? But there's different things in motors that have to be clean and not corroded, or else it just will not work. And a lot of old model railroad equipment use that style of drive under a certain price point, and they're just really terrible. And you're going to be very frustrated trying to work with those. They can be remotored. You can put a new or an old can style motor in there. They'll be a lot more reliable. But cheap stuff is cheap stuff. It doesn't matter when it was made. If it wasn't designed to be a high quality thing when it was made, it's not going to be a high quality thing now. That being said, old stuff that was actually designed to, not just be a toy you play with once a year at Christmas and put it away. Old stuff is bomb-proof. Like, the really expensive stuff is absolutely bomb-proof. Like, you will not kill it. Athearn blue box locomotives in HO scale, almost impossible to kill. They might run kind of poorly if they're dirty, but they're almost always going to work. Commutator, yes. Commutator is the term I was looking for. And once again, the Timberborn stream is turned into train stuff, so VOD watchers who have not already bailed and mailed anthrax to my house are probably fine watching this still. But I would caution, again, not going to say outright that that's an incorrect statement, but I would caution people to automatically assume that anything old is good. Survivorship bias is a thing. A lot of the garbage stuff was just immediately thrown away, and the stuff that survives is, you know, the higher quality things, or things that have been maintained and might not have necessarily been a high quality thing when they were new. But it is very important to realize that, you know, cheap stuff is cheap, expensive stuff is expensive. And things have become more expensive overall, but you do get what you pay for. Whether that initial payment was in 1960 or if it's in 2026. If you do want to buy older stuff, older meaning made before the year 2000, highly, highly, highly recommend Athearn Blue Box locomotives. Lionel HO stuff is almost always going to be probably overpriced because people attach the Lionel name to value even when it's sometimes objectively not really worth that much. But people like the name, so they're going to pay more money for it. They're going to ask more money for it. Most of Lionel's HO stuff was not made by Lionel. It was subcontracted out to other companies. River Rossi, when they were actually still an Italian company, made some pretty good stuff. There's a couple of other European companies that would have subcontracted for other things. Rocco, I believe, out of Austria, has made a lot of really good stuff. Markland out of Germany, really good stuff. Trix, I don't remember what company they're from, but a lot of that older stuff is pretty good. And Athearn, when it was US-made blue box stuff, again, almost bomb-proof. You're not going to have as much detail, and the dimensions on some things are going to be wrong, but mechanically, it's almost impossible to kill those. Now I have to scroll back up and chat again. And since we're talking about Lionel, most of my experience is HO scale. Lionel 3-rail O scale from a certain point is extremely, extremely good stuff. But it is massively overvalued. And a lot of people are asking way too much money when they're trying to sell stuff, and people just aren't going to pay that for it. But Lionel stuff from a certain time period is extremely good and will run forever if you take care of it. New stuff, I don't know. I don't have any experience with that, but I've not heard a lot of great stuff. Let's see. Binge watching all the Beaver seasons. Loved the 1K Beaver season, and it was very entertaining and kind of suspense at the end of every episode. Or at each and every episode. Yeah, 1K was fun until it wasn't fun. It became a absolute slog at some point, and I am going to try and finish that in the next week or so. Hopefully the ending of that is actually satisfying. But I've been having an interesting time trying to get that finished. Dream is to have the train go around the living room with plexiglass shells. Like to go big or go home. Yeah, and you don't have to have a very complicated setup to enjoy it either. You can easily, well, I say easily, it's going to cost a lot of money, but you can put a shelf style layout in a room. You don't have to do scenery, you don't have to do buildings, wherever. You can just put tracks on a shelf at whatever level you want it to be, and you can run trains and have a good time with that. I've seen restaurants that have had the large scale trains running around near the ceiling. I've seen some that have the displays behind plexiglass, whatever. If you can figure out what you want to do, there's probably almost nothing stopping you but money and time. The Science Museum in Oklahoma City has a decent model train display. I haven't been to that one, but I went to Chicago 20 years ago, and they had the Museum of Science and Industry there that had just opened a brand new, huge, like bigger than most people's houses, a huge model train display that had basically, I think it was representing rail travel between Chicago and San Francisco, maybe LA, I can't remember. But they had like, you would not believe how huge this was. Like, floor-to-ceiling mountains, floor-to-ceiling in a museum mountains, which is, in terms of scale feet, probably. Let me do some math here, because I remember going in there, and I was a kid. I was like 12 years old, but I can't type on a calculator and think at the same time. But in terms of scale feet, easily could have been over 1,000 scale feet tall. HO scale is 1/87th of real life, so 1 foot in HO scale is 87 feet. Or 1 foot model in HO scale is 87 feet long in scale. So 1,000 feet represented in HO scale would be about 11.5 feet in real life. And they had mountains that were taller than that would be well past the second floor balcony in terms of height. But they'd run full length trains with 100-something cars hauling coal, quote unquote. There's nothing in there, but they'd have passenger trains that have different historical eras. They'd have all these different industries, and you could interact with stuff. You push buttons and it would run different things in the diorama. It would show you all these different. That was just so cool to see as a kid. Well, even as an adult, it's really cool to see. I love stuff like that. I would love to build something like that costs multiple millions of dollars, and that is not something I will ever achieve. But it's neat to see it if you can. Miniature Wonderland, yep, that's on my bucket list. But European travel is very expensive currently, so that will have to wait. But I definitely want to go check that out. Let's see. Commutator sounds like a Soviet potato. No, okay, that's good wordplay. But a commutator is a part of an electric motor that commutes power between different things. But it rotates around, and it's not affixed to both sides of something. It just anyway. Dad has about 30 all brass trains made in Japan 40 years ago. Sat in a closet for 30 years. Worked without much cleaning. Brass made in Japan, probably. Tenshodo, probably pronounced that wrong. But that is a very well-known, extremely high-quality manufacturer of, well, I don't know if they still do brass. But that was one of the big names. There's a company out of Korea that made a lot of stuff on contract for brands like Overland and Golden Gate Depot, Sunset Models, all that. I want to say, actually, I don't know what the name was. I don't want to get it wrong. But Japan, after maybe about the 50s or 60s, Japan got really, really, really good at making handcrafted brass model trains. And they commanded a lot of money for the products, but they are extremely high quality. And I know Tenshodo still makes model trains. They do some in brass, they do some in plastic. But you will pay for it. They're extremely expensive, but they're good quality. And another Japanese manufacturer that isn't quite as much money, Kato, makes mostly plastic models. And they have their own set of sectional roadbed track called Unitrack. Mostly in scale. They do HO scale as well. But, I mean, they're still kind of pricey. But in my opinion, that if you're going to do in scale, you will not make a bad choice if you buy a Kato product. I guess technically the Japanese pronunciation is probably closer to Kato, but no one in America enunciates T's. Old appliances lasted a lot longer. That is absolutely true. That is 100% true. Planned obsolescence is a terrible thing. My grandma had a set of Kenmore 40 series washers. Washer-dryer. Clothes washer-dryer for people that might not call that in their home country. And she had those for 40 or 50 years. And finally had to get rid of the washer because the drum was rusting out. But it still worked perfectly fine. And since then, I think they've gone through 3 or 4 washing machines. And it's kind of useless to turn that into a whole which country makes the best stuff debate, because at this point, basically, they're all garbage unless you pay for a commercial quality thing like a Speed Queen or whatever. Even Maytag has gone downhill, which is very disappointing. I am so far behind on chat. We're 10 minutes behind. Food is slowly going down. It is. That's something that I wanted to fix and then forgot about because I turned this into a 1 million log playthrough. Like an absolute idiot. Let's see. Kansas City has a decent model train set up at the train station. I've actually heard about that one. If I ever make it out to Kansas City, I definitely want to go see it. Doing math on camera? Yeah, it never goes well. Why isn't it toesies instead of inches? I don't know. Ask the British who came up with that, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Would you like more gear store? Oh, hi, Mike. Yes, I have not responded to your emails. I'm very sorry. I have had a horribly busy past couple of weeks. I probably won't have time to really do much of anything until I don't even know when. Because I'm going on vacation soon. But at some point, I do want to talk to you. I promise. It has been very hard. What was I talking about? So many different things. Did Lionel get worse when Neil Young bought the company? I don't know enough specifically about the history of the company to really say anything on that, and I probably shouldn't try. But I can tell you that there was a point where they, as a company, decided to focus more on the casual buyer who is not really a hobbyist and just wants collaborative stuff, themed trains, Hogwarts Express, Polar Express, that kind of stuff. And there seems to have been somewhat of an abandonment of quality and, serviceability in favor of profit, which that's not a unique thing to them. Basically, everybody's been doing that to a certain degree. But I've seen a lot more negative people talking about Lionel being disappointing in the past 10, 15 years than I've seen people praising them, and especially talking about pricing. But I'm not an O-scale guy. I'm not a tin plate, not a toy train guy, whatever. So I don't really have a whole lot of knowledge about it. Would you like more gear storage to stock up while continuing this project? You know what? That is a smart idea. And I should have done that a very long time ago. Where's my gear thing? Did I? No. I've been doing most of this. I can't remember what I've even been doing with all of this. I think I've been doing most of this with just 2 gear workshops. Oh, this playthrough's a mess. This playthrough is an absolute disaster. It's fine. I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to put gears in it. We might as well. We're going to need them anyway. Now would be a good time to insert ads. No, I'm not inserting ads into a live stream while it's happening. South Pasadena has a great model railroad. Is that a train station or is that a model train club? Because I know there's a couple clubs down there. And I know at one point there were a lot of pretty good model train stores in that part of Southern California. I've been to a few of them. Whitewater canoeing. I've not done whitewater rafting. I've done canoeing. I've done camping. I've not done like wilderness camping or anything. Again, for the sake of security, privacy, whatever, I probably shouldn't say exactly what I'm doing or how long it's going to be, but I'm gonna have a good time. Gears and metal blocks. Oh yeah, we need more metal block storage. That was one of the other things I was going to try and figure out, because I know I've got this here. But there's no mine over there. And I've got a mine space there. I've got this here. I was trying to find where I was going to build another mine. I don't think I've built one, but I don't remember. I don't see a mine anywhere. So maybe we should do one of those. Where would make the most sense? That's kind of out of the way. I mean, this is the closest one, and I'm pretty sure this isn't going to flood anymore. Hey, Kurt. A couple of clubs and at least one train store. Yeah, I went to... I don't even know if the place is still there anymore. There was one on Orangethorpe Avenue. I know it's not Pasadena. It's a different part of whatever. There's one on Orangethorpe and... Oh, I couldn't tell you what the other cross street is. But it was right next to the tracks. I went there, bought a locomotive from them 20-some years ago. I'm going to unlock and build a mine over here. Yes, I know there's still scrap metal. Don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. I've got a two-way station that goes all the way down over to here. I could, if I hated myself, try to go over this way. I think that's probably actually a good idea. I'm going to go down right here to do that. So that's going to be this tile, which means I need to have a... See, it's annoying to try to build this stuff after a certain point because I don't have the right kind of stuff to do what I want to do. If that makes sense. I think I should have power coming over here. Yeah, I really should. I really should. Let's have power go around the back side and then have that come up. Let's go with that. I know they can't actually get over here unless I build them a path, so I do need to allow for that. Oh, there's a path over here. I know it's not the most efficient way to do this, but let's just do this. Goes there, goes there. I just need this to be technically accessible. There we go. Let's see. Dropped in late, probably missed a stream, but why is there a stack of overhangs? That was left over from when I was trying to find the middle of the map, so I could figure out where I was going to put my monstrosity of the 1 million log storage. And we ended up deciding that it was basically right about here would be a good spot for the center, but for right now I need to get my industry fixed a little bit. Metal mine, more resin storage. Yes, you are correct, and this is an area that I was going to do something about that. I have my fingers on the wrong buttons. I need to put in another woodwork shop, probably, because I don't have any other storage here. I don't think I need to have 2 industrial lumber mills if this can only consume 1 plank every 3 hours. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. And I'm going to put in 2 woodwork shops. I know I have to get up there, and I don't have a path. There we go. I think they should be able to reach that. Now, but I need to put that in place. I need to have more storage for treated planks. Maybe I don't need more storage for treated planks. I'm certainly going to want it. Maybe that's another good thing to pop over here. I should have copy-pasted these. I always forget. Yeah, let's do... Let's just do this. Even if it's not the best possible way to lay this out, it's just the way it's going to work. That should be okay. Ah, that's why it's 250 HP, and it's not going to have enough power to run 2 of these. Well, I can always just put an engine in, and that would take care of basically all of these. Log storage actually would be beneficial for an engine. Why am I doing a billion things at once? That's not a recipe for success. That is a recipe for frustration. Okay, lowest possible priority. Bring me the dynamite. There's a river of death, but the rest is nice. I mean, I'm trying to get rid of the river of death. That was one of the things I was working on. they're currently putting in a tunnel to get all of this stuff out of here. Oh, I need to pay attention so I can get these guys out before a bad tide happens. A recipe for funstration? Sure. Let's go with that. What in the world am I actually doing here? I did say I was going to stream for... Well, I didn't tell you guys. I told myself I was going to stream for 2 hours today, but I want to try... I'm in the wrong spot. I want to try and get a little bit more done here. That's not even close to finished. That's fine. We did play with some of this automation stuff, and I think I've got somewhat... excuse me. Somewhat of a solution. But I had to mute so I could cough and not destroy your eardrums. I don't know exactly if this is going to be great for the Folktales playthrough. We can mess with it. For those of you who were not here, which probably is most of you, this was very early in the stream. What I've done is based off of some input from a few of you guys in the comments of videos and also in this live stream. I have attached this industrial lumber mill to this relay. This relay is activated when both a specific resource counter and this memory is active. This memory is active when both of... okay, let's start over. The goal is to have... industrial... I'm trying so hard. I really am. I can't put this into words very easily. Industrial lumber mill, I wanted to automate to only produce when the supply of logs was high enough to support production and when there was empty space available in the storage for the planks that it was going to make. So to that end, what I had done before in the video series was I had a resource counter set to 5% on the logs, and if I had more than 5% of storage filled, that would enable this to work. And then I had this set... That's not what I wanted to click on. I had this set originally to 95%, but when the plank storage had at least some space open, then that would turn on. Both of these originally were set to a relay that was an AND gate, where if both of these were on, the relay would turn on and then the building would turn on. But the problem I was running into, and the problem that people said I was going to run into, was that once it was inside that range, then the building would just flicker on and off constantly because there's no further instructions given except keep it in between this range. So I was trying to figure out a way, without just putting a timer on it, because we've run into issues with water supply, stuff like that. And someone said, okay, well, you can use memory. And I had no idea how that worked, so I had to set out to figure that out. And what we ended up coming to was we still have both of these resource counters, but instead of having it set to an AND gate, what we would do is we would tie these to memory where it's set reset. So this resource counter here, counter 8, is do we have storage space available? If so, yes. And it resets when storage counter 9, which was a new one. If the plank storage is full, then it turns off the memory. So what ended up happening from there is the memory would then become an input for one of the relays, one of the original relays we were using to turn the building on. So this is a stand-in for all of the resource counting because it's conditional, whatever. This goes into the relay as an AND gate so that when resource counter 7, which is this one that tells us, do we have logs we can use, says yes, and the memory that says, are the storage conditions favorable, says yes, then the relay turns on, and then that turns the building on. I hope that made sense. But that is the solution I believe we have arrived to, and I think I'm going to try to integrate that into the next video. I'm not recording that till tomorrow, though, so there's a chance I could forget. But that was the only actual work for this we've done today. Minus, tunneling this out, because then people got me talking about trains, and you know what that turns into. So, just make sure that's set up there. Yeah, the raft mod is something I want to play with. It's not going to be for a while, though. Let's see. Trying to drink nothing but water for a couple months, like oh God. Don't do that. Don't drink from the toilet. Yeah, water is good for you. People should drink more water. Is there a way to set a wonder to an if relay and make the if Hoff getting a membership using the internet connection thing? So, I'm pretty sure most of that was a joke. However, there is there's this HTTP adapter, which, if we read this, says turns its input signal, aka in-game activation, into an API endpoint and webhook calls. So, in theory, I could have this set to read the live stream chat and detect a certain phrase, whatever that phrase might be. If I went up to the last time we did gift memberships, let's see what YouTube words that as. Okay, so if I set this HTTP adapter's activation state to say at E Hoffmeister, whatever his number string is, I'm sorry, I don't remember it, received a gift membership from whatever, then that would activate this HTTP adapter. And then that could activate something in-game, like, for example, fireworks or flashing lights or something. I think that would be hilariously fun. And I kind of want to do it, but I don't know how. And now I'm running out of time for stream. But just so everyone's on the same page, that is something I do want to try and do. I'm just not entirely sure how to make it happen. So be that what it may. Cat demands freshly flushed toilet water every morning. What is wrong with your cat? Oh, that is that's rough. That's rough. Okay. Something I noticed with the seeps and pumps is if you want a hole below the straw deeper than the seep. Oh yeah, if you're using water seeps to put out stuff for pumps, yeah, because then the seep's just never going to shut off. I wanted them to put this dynamite in place so I could actually get the tubeway starting the tunnel construction. But that probably sums up most of what we are, most of what we're doing here. Do I have a... No, I don't. I probably can put another advanced breeding pod in to try and get our beaver numbers up. I'm going to do one more. If you tied it to gift memberships, I suspect you would see a lot more gifted memberships. Okay, I'm not trying to game people into giving me money. I don't believe that's a good thing to do. But I am very, very curious to see what an in-game celebration of Huff getting a gifted membership would be. Doing it for bad water. Okay. I understand what you're saying. I don't know that it's necessary. Because this, so far, I don't think has ever been outpaced by the pumps. But now I'm very curious. I would be somewhat afraid of messing this up, but I don't think I could do enough damage for it to actually be a problem. Let's, first of all, examine what's underneath here. Okay, we're not going to cause any problems. If I made a trench, obviously this says it can't pump anything, but if I made a trench here and I didn't poison anybody, see if I can get them to build. Yeah. That could be a 5. Yeah. Then it would funnel all that in there, and I could theoretically reclaim more land from this. For drought time. Well, it is drought time, so, you know. That is an idea. We don't have really any space for more bad water. Could remove the pump on the left. You know, I could. I don't know that I have a reason to. I have so many construction projects happening right now that these guys probably can't even hope to finish all of them before this drought's over. But I really want to make sure that they can get this going. This needs to go down to the same level that the rest of this is on, which is... Oh, it's only one. Okay. Shiny distraction, yep. Were you referring to the same pumps? The bad water pumps? And in terms of getting... in terms of getting this actually built, I don't think that would actually solve much versus this, unless I just rebuilt all of the pumps to begin with. We'll just do that. I'm sorry, my brain has shut off. I need this to be prioritized. No, no, no. Stop building. Oh, it's already almost done. I just want that done so I can put tubeways in, so I can put the tubeway station in, so that they can use the tubeways to then construct the tunnels, and then put tubeways in the tunnels. I hope that makes sense. I need that to be tunneled so I can have this go straight through. If you tied memberships to in-game triggers, people would do 10 at a time instead of 50 at a time to have your game trigger go off 5 times. I mean, I think if that's what it would get to, then I might start becoming uncomfortable about the amount of money people are throwing at me. You know, selfishly, I can't say that I would dislike receiving a lot of money. But at the end of the day, you know, life's expensive, and I don't want people outspending their means just to see stuff going off in my game here. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. I don't like that at all. I'm going to have to fix that. Even though it really doesn't matter. Okay, that is ready there. The reason I did this, for those of you who are keeping track at home, is so that I could have power go over where the tubeway has to go through. That's what's happening here. I have to have this... Come on. I have to have this removed, and then I have to put that in place, and then I have that go straight across. That's the thought process behind all this. Okay, now that that's there, I come up to the top, and then I put in vertical tubeways, and then on the top of the vertical tubeway I put the tubeway station. And then, once they build this, I can have them come down here, because they can build from inside tubeways. They can take these tunnels and, you know, make them actual tunnels, and then build from inside without me having to build staircase. But you can't put one of these underground, the base ones, unless you have a huge cavern for it. I think the surface of corruption spread would be reduced a lot if you didn't make it a single trench, but rather only the single tile under the straw. I don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference, to be perfectly honest with you. I will humor you, though, and that is what I will do. I'll put a... Oh, that was a happy accident, I suppose. I'll put a triple here, I'll put a double here, and then, in order to try and corral this, I guess I could just have this single all the way out to here. And then we'll see. Build the two-way tunnel from both sides to speed it up. Yes, once we have... Go back down here. Once we have this thing, I don't care about the power. That's fine. We can have them go in here and do this. So now they can come in once we actually, you know, have the other projects completed that are sucking up all the workers. They can build one segment at a time. I'll have to babysit, but they can do that. What about over here? Almost done. And all that requires is that I don't flood this tunnel until all the beavers are out of it. So I'm going to make the final thing one of these. Parasociality achieved. It is deeply funny for you to be the one that says this, since you were the one who got me to actually open up channel memberships in the first place. Let's see. More tunnels mod? Yeah, I know. I hadn't wanted to add mods to this playthrough or the Folktales one until the game was more stable. Which the last time I streamed was only 2 weeks after 1.0 released. I think now it's probably fine, but I'm about to not probably stream this again for a month. Next idea. Don't actually let anything go on the surface. Box in the seep with levees. Just leave one tile free and make a tunnel straight down from that directly into the channels. Yeah, that's actually what I was going to do. I don't think I said that, but that would heavily reduce the amount of pollution we're going to be dealing with. So, because I know everyone loves it when I just, you know, continuously explode things for no reason. I need to send beavers in here to clean things up. Unfortunately, it's going to cause problems, so we're going to have to do annoying things to solve this problem. So I need them to be able to build underneath. That's going to have to go. It's fine. It's fine. Do you want the tunnel too wide? The entire length right there for the exit channel. So the reason I hadn't changed that is because I'm going to blast this down from above. It's safer. The beavers don't have to get wet. But yeah, that's going to go there. This tunnel only exists so I didn't have to dig another access hole, and I might honestly leave this in place in case there's too much. No, you don't need to apologize. Never necessary to apologize. Doing these kind of things is always a bit of a... What's the word I'm looking for? A bit of a challenge, because you can't always, you know, understand what someone is saying, and someone might not always say something that can be easily understood. So it usually ends up being a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B when you're trying to build something out of stream chat, and it's not really anybody's fault. Why in the world did YouTube censor this message? Come on. Come on. I mean, I know what you're going for, but there's nothing on the surface that would be inappropriate about that to someone who's not already hopelessly in the gutter. I really love this, the curved staircases. I love them so much. Mostly because it is like a half ladder, so I don't have to be so mad about not having ladders. But also it's just a neat thing. Yeah, we're gonna get this popped in here. I do need to monitor what we're doing here. I think I can probably be mostly safe getting all of this bad water in here. Kind of decontaminate a decent portion of this. But it's not going to be great until I can have this just completely fall off, which I think I'm going to do right here. If you dig the channel from the bad seep, it'll always go out there as well. Yep. And I think that's where a lot of us are on the same page, maybe with just different explanations for it. So, because of how this is set up, yes, it is going to flood a lot of this, but this will always be full. And I can slowly, eventually, corral the rest of this and get that taken care of. But I don't have the ability, without it being a drought and a lot of these things just constantly pumping, to have enough of this safely going. Okay, for boom. So that is, that's where we find ourselves. Just is what it is. Set a HTTP thing for anyone getting censored causes something to happen. Well, I would be concerned that that would encourage people to do things worthy of censorship, which might be funny, but also not necessarily something I want to start promoting. Exit bad water by the pipes. Talking about the drains? Yeah, I just misunderstood what you were saying. That's going to take that down to almost. Final bad water pump's not connected to the bad water channel. You are correct. Because there are thorns here that I don't want to send beavers into the poison waste to go deal with. We'll get there. Just not necessarily super quickly. Bad water seep there, you could trench to exit. Oh! That's what you were talking about. Okay, yeah. We'll do that. We'll do that once I have this taken care of. These good to go? Yeah, so now that just needs a 2 dynamite. Yeah. Yeah, so I will have to have a... Oh! That is the most convenient possible thing right there. So I can just do... Yeah, I can do triples all the way down. Except they're not going to be able to reach this one because there's terrain in the way. It's a good water seep. Oh... Never mind. I'll tell you what we'll do. I still want to put this in because I do want to corral this for the purpose of keeping bad water out. I don't know how much more I can realistically accomplish in this stream without it being chaos, so we probably will have to end soon, but I can drain all this nasty water out of here, which will help us reclaim some of this. We'll stop that flow. It will take some time to drain, and it's also getting some bad water from this, so it's not going to go completely away. But look how much cleaner that is now. So that's good. That's good progress there. So that's already... Yeah, that's draining. Most of that is just this excess bad water coming out because nothing else is being produced. This won't be as full forever. But it's draining. It's working pretty well. This bad water seep probably can just be easily defeated for now by blocking this off with a string of levees. That's going to be the fastest way to do it. Obviously, we'd want this to be completely shut off, but this is without sending somebody down in here to get poisoned or whatever. That's going to get us most of the way there. That's going to get us most of the way there. I just have to put in some sort of a thing here. Let's get that hooked up. Yeah, that problem will help solve itself. We've made some nice progress. Might not be the perfect progress I've wanted, but we have, in fact, made progress. Alright, so... Oh, this is flooded. This is flooded. Is that supposed to be flooded? No, it is not, but it's flooded because of this. Okay. Can't get... Why can't I get any dirt? Did I not build a dirt Alright. Oh, man. Yeah. That's how we're going to solve that for now. I didn't say who was going to be in charge. Missing a set of stairs. Am I? Oh, you're absolutely correct. The angle betrayed me. So I think what I was looking at before, I thought this was just a straight line path. Let's see. Yeah, we'll monitor this for a little bit longer. I wanted to have power come through here as well, so I could have processing on that side. Just gonna have to do this. So this is probably realistically the last thing I'm probably gonna be able to do in this stream. So we'll make sure we see this through to the end. What else? Dirt idea doesn't work without dirt. Yep, that, you know, that's correct. One could logically expect dirt to be necessary. Just have to wait. I do wish this was a little faster, though. Oh, we got 24 vacant jobs. Why is that when I added a thing for more beavers? It's a dirty job and no one's doing it. Yep, because Mike Rowe retired. I should just assume that's going to be too slow because they haven't doing other stuff. Well, you know, I did tell them to do this, so I can't really be mad about them doing it. That's worth doing. The mine needs a recipe, but we don't need the mine to be doing anything right now because I have enough scrap metal. So I'm just going to pause that. So that should be hopefully a little bit of a help there. Why do you need a vacation? Because I haven't taken one basically ever. For me by myself. I've gone places with family, but that's a different thing. You know, going away means you hate us and you want our loved ones to suffer. Also, it means you hate puppies. Well, you can levy whatever accusations against me that you choose, but they will not stand. Also, it's technically, depending on how you want to look at it, not entirely vacation because I'm definitely going to be working on it, but fun work. I haven't even been to Latin America in the first place. Might want to extend the two-way tunnel to the right to be able to build the power connection. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of forgot about that. Okay, did they? Okay, they did. So this is just going to have to evaporate. That's going to be annoying. Do you want sluices by the pipes and seep to only open during bad tide to keep the good water in? I was thinking about that, yes. But I fear we've now reached the territory of do this next time, which is going to be in a month. So we might have to just kind of reevaluate the entire thing at that point. Was Micro famous before Dirty Jobs? I don't know. That was the first time I'd ever heard of him watching that show. Now I'm going to have to look it up. I would imagine he probably did something in TV before then. Let's see. Yes, of course I know he's best known for Dirty Jobs. I already knew that. Let's see. Television career. Early 90s, he hosted a music trivia game. He was an on-air host for QVC? Really? Huh. Okay, so he's worked in TV. So I guess maybe people that had been familiar with some of his other stuff would have crossed over to Dirty Jobs because of that. I don't know. When I think of QVC, I don't think of Dirty Jobs. I'll tell you that much. A vacation with other family members is 100% not a relaxing time. I have to be very careful how I answer this. I would say that is simultaneously a completely correct and a completely incorrect statement. I think it depends very heavily on circumstances. I have immensely enjoyed vacations that I have taken with my family, going to see really cool stuff, going to visit people, and we've done a lot of really cool stuff, and I absolutely do not regret doing all those things. That being said, there is a lot of truth to the whole it cannot be 100% relaxing because you're in a car with someone. Well, we like to do road trips. You're in a car with somebody for 3 straight days, uninterrupted, till you get to the other side of the continent. A lot can happen in 3 days in a car when you have nothing else to do. But there is, I think, probably the better way to approach this is there are a lot of things that you can only do, a lot of relaxation and recharging that you can only achieve when you are by yourself. At least if you're like me. And I find it very difficult sometimes to cope with having people have 24/7 access to you when you were used to not having, to be around people at all times. And for that reason, close quarters family vacations can be stressful. But to say 100% that it is always not a good time is just, in my experience, categorically false. But I think I understand the intent behind what you said. Who's saying what about opera? Oh, Mike Rose. I think he did mention at some point he was a classically trained something opera singer. So to clarify, vacation with your own children isn't totally stress-free. I don't have any kids, fortunately, so I don't have to worry about that. But yes, everyone I know who has kids is constantly talking about how stressful vacations are. Let's see. Why does it not say anything? Oh, because I clicked on television career, not early life. His parents are both teachers. Eagle Scout. Excelled in theater and singing. Studied. Oh, I know where Towson is. I know people who went to Towson. I don't see much about opera stuff. Got a degree in communications. Anyway. Two-way tunnel mod. Yeah, I'm absolutely installing more tunnels. Obviously, now it's a little bit late for today, but that has, I think, been... I shouldn't say it's been my favorite part of the Ember Pelts mod, but it is really awesome to have access to that. So it looks like this might be finally going down, water-wise. At least it was clean water, not bad water. That is, that's a good thing. Why in the world does YouTube censor these This is stupid. YouTube keeps censoring messages that have nothing needing to be censored. No, it's not a legit way to play the game. I will rage in the comments because it makes me so angry. Yeah, don't do that. That's also kind of something that played into it, is every time there's an update to the game, I get a huge boost in my audience, and a lot of the people that come in, I shouldn't paint everyone with the same brush, but the frequency of frustrated comments, and sometimes mean ones, skyrockets when there's a game update, because I think I get viewers that are used to watching someone else who edits their content, or like maybe someone like Zedek who's actually just absolutely cracked at the game and doesn't make as many mistakes as I do. And then they see how I do stuff, and I don't take any things out, and then they get like personally offended that I'm not super genius, whatever. It is what it is. A 5-meter straw. Would it even be possible with a regular drinking straw, 5 meters long? Wouldn't that just collapse under the suction before you actually got any liquid through it? It would have to be like a really, really rigid thing, like a little tiny pipe. Thank you, autosave. Let's see. We're almost done here. Almost. And I think I am going to have to end stream here in just a minute. I've already gone half an hour longer than I originally wanted to. It'd be impossible for a human to pull it up. Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking. I have, what's the best way to explain this without this being weird? So, the house that I live in is 2-story, and it has 2 HVAC systems, one for the downstairs, one for the upstairs. The one for the upstairs is in the attic. And, I don't know why they did it this way. It probably was cheaper. But there's separate systems for the top and the bottom, so you don't have to have the whole house being air-conditioned in the summer if the upstairs is the only part that gets hot. Anyway, Zedek is not flawless, but on a scale of 1 to 10, Zedek is much closer to 10, and I am much closer to 1. Oh, hey, Doc. I'm actually about to end stream, unfortunately, but good to see you. Human can suck water up a straw to a maximum height of approximately 34 feet. That's a lot more than I thought. Now, does that have anything to do with the regular straw size form factor, or is that just a general suction thing? Oh man, it keeps censoring Kurt for saying stuff that, you know, like, isn't technically inappropriate, but could be read that way. Oh god. Anyway, so upstairs air conditioner has, if you know anything about air conditioning systems, you know that how air conditioning works is it, among other things, it essentially sucks a ton of moisture out of the air in the process, and you get condensate as a result. So the condensate has to go somewhere, and in a normal system that's in the downstairs of a house or whatever, there's a PVC pipe or a line or something that goes to the outside and is just gravity fed to go where it needs to go. Okay, so that's taken care of, and now that's all connected. That's good. That's exactly what I wanted. But the upstairs one, because of where it is in the attic, has a pretty long pipe it has to go through to get to the outside wall, where it goes down in between the studs and then exits the house over by the outside evaporator coils and all that stuff. So what happens is that PVC pipe can very easily become clogged because whoever installed this in the 80s when they built the house, I guess, didn't slope it correctly. And the way things are set up there, it really can't be fixed without completely tearing the whole system out. And that is like, that's an amount of money that would also purchase a brand new luxury car, which not happening. I'll just solve the problems when they happen and not worry about trying to redo the entire thing. But anyway, so that will get clogged sometimes. And then when that happens, you have to either apply suction to the pipe and stop all the openings, or you have to get outside and you have to blow through it to clear the blockage. And it ends up being a thing where it is technically possible to do it with your mouth, but it is very painful because you have to put so much pressure into it. And like I did band for 10, 15 years between middle school, high school, college, and I still play sometimes. So like I've got pretty good lung capacity. I'm used to that kind of stuff, but it's hard. It is really, really difficult. Always have heat pumps in the AC. Yeah, I think this predates when that was really popular. If I were building a home from scratch, I would absolutely rather have geothermal and a heat pump and then like a mini split or something in a garage or workshop. But I don't know. That is something that would require many, 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 many more times magnitude money than I currently have and probably will ever happen. Let's see. Use a shop vac on the exit. See, don't think we didn't try that. The pipe is long enough because of the height of the house and where it is on the inside. The pipe is like 50 feet long, and it has other openings. So applying suction to the outside of the pipe isn't actually going to clear a blockage because there's not enough resistance created inside the pipe when sucking from the outside to do that. Because of where it was, a lot of experimentation was conducted because it was a very frequent problem. So what ended up solving the problem the most was figuring out the maximum degree of slope fixing that I could do with like wood blocking and stuff. Because the condensate line runs between joists in the attic, which are only they're really not very deep. because the structure of the house is not built off of the joists in the attic. It's like the joists in the attic are basically just something to hang the drywall for the ceiling from. The actual structure of the house is beams resting on the exterior walls, so there's not a lot of space to move. Why am I saying this entire thing on stream? Anyway, we managed to mostly fix it, but sometimes you do still have to go and dislodge stuff, because you can apply more force by external pressure going in than you can by just sucking it out with the shop vac. I have to be very careful how I word this so people don't clip it weirdly. YouTube moderated that comment automatically. I'm going to approve it. I'm fortunate to live in a place where we have a decent lot size and we have growth, so that people can't see me crouched over next to the AC stuff, messing with all that. It is a drought. We could use the clear the brambles by the bad water seep next to the pumps. Yes, we can, but this still has to go down, and we are currently not going through enough bad water for this to be really reduced. Now, I could put in another tank. I don't think we're really going to need more tanks, but I might as well, since we have not really much else going on. You still have an inventor house now next to the town center. I don't remember if I do or not. Okay, we don't need those. We do not need those. Not that I, need to save beaver labor or anything. But we do have the number cruncher that's automated. It's waiting to go on non-working hours. And there it goes. And I think it also is tied to a power consumption. Dynamite more around the edges. I mean, I could. But I kind of... the amount of volume that would require to reduce this enough to send beavers in here would be basically dynamiting the entire thing down one. Or half of them. I don't think they will demolish thorns from the bridge. I would be surprised if that worked. But I think it's one of those things they have to be on ground level. Are you serious? Oh god, now I look stupid. All right. Well, that's it's something I always forget that's possible. I always forget you can do that. So that, that's going to make this substantially easier. I don't know if it's specifically new enough to be considered new in the grand scheme of 1.0 experimental having been out for several months, but I always forget about it. Straws can only be so long before the water would boil the more suction you provide. I don't think I've ever run into water boiling, per se. In terms of how the I thought you were driving. Don't text and drive. Don't do that. Let's see. But this is now channeled in here enough where I think I can send somebody down and it's not going to be a big problem. I want this to be blown up. Come on. I want that to get demolished. I can just easily now put in a staircase. Then since we are here, why don't we just get rid of all of those? Text-to-speech does exist. Okay, that's fair. That's very fair. It's okay to watch a live stream and drive, just not... Well, it's not okay to watch a live stream. A lot of people just, listen to it like they listen to an audiobook. But at the end of the day, I'm not your dad. You do what you want. I'm going to encourage you not to do dumb things, but I can't stop you. Speaking of driving, I have to go because I'm actively running late. Yeah, please don't be late because you're watching the live stream, but thank you for being here. Always good to see you. So provided we can get this knocked out before the thing starts, I think I can get away with putting that here. Your last SUV would allow you to watch Twitch and YouTube streams from the main radio while driving. That seems extremely illegal. I don't know about that one, Chief. Okay, you bypassed... Okay, that's why. That's why. Need to head out now, too. Glad I was able to catch a bit of the stream. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. Yeah, I remember back in... Oh, man. Was like 2005 or whatever when Pimp My Ride was airing. They'd put these fancy head units in these people's cars. Like, yeah, you can plug your PS2 into this. And then I guess, you know, technically that wasn't illegal because no one had thought that that was something people would do. But oh man, what a show that was. They're like, yo dog, we heard you liked jeans, so we made the entire interior of your car out of denim. Like, who does that? Well, Exhibit, I guess, but you put a depth sluice, you could regulate the bad water going into the trenches. That is, you know, that's absolutely correct. Let's do that. Let's pop that there. Okay, the fill valve is basically just the sluice. I was about to say, we don't have sluices anymore, but this basically does the same thing. Ooh. Target height of 0.5 meters means I can put the terrain back on top of this. I like that idea. That is, that's going to be cool. Prius displays have a video RCA jack. Oh no, like the main display in the dashboard, because our minivan has a RCA input in the back for a video game system or whatever. Obviously the driver can't see it. But I've always wondered because Honda has, or not anymore, but back in the day, Honda had DVD-based navigation systems, and that was how the screen of the dashboard would work. Is you'd put the correct DVD in a special DVD player in a certain spot that would activate on the thing. I always wondered if you could put a regular DVD in there, because you know the navigation system has a full button input and touch screen, so you could theoretically, assuming it would actually play another DVD, you could put something in there. I've never tried it because I don't want to, you know, break it, but I am sickeningly curious about how well that would work, if it works at all. Oh, and here I go again, about to put in dirt when I don't I don't even have a dirt excavator. But boy, oh boy, has this given me so many dangerous ideas. I am excited in a way that I have not really been in a while about this. 'Cause now I have so many questions. Yeah, there's no one doing a dirty job. I know. No, I addressed it. See, that's the difference. Now, this is still going to be polluted up here, but now the reason I would put that to 0.5 is because it's going to take time to, you know, get down there. But we can kind of monitor the suction here. It looks like it is kind of outpacing that. So if I go up to say 0.7, is that going to keep it full enough? Looks like it might. I think this is already fine. I don't think we need to worry about it. So I know we don't have any... Remember when I said I was going to stop stream after 2 hours and it's been almost 3? Yeah, good times. Dirt excavator. Where am I going to put you? So I do have power over here that I'm not really using. This isn't really a great way of doing this. But this is probably also a decent spot to put this. So here's what I'm doing, because that communicates power just fine. Let's do that. Let's do that. Because what I can do on top of this is... Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. I made a mistake. Let's move this over, because I'm going to have to offset it. Let's put that there. No. Yes. Let's put that there. Because I'm going to have to get this over here. Oh, this is so stupid. This is so dumb. What am I doing? This is completely ridiculous. It's not necessary to do this at all. I just need to do this slightly normally. All I've got to do is put a platform right here. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then this just has to be a pile for dirt. Okay. Another abomination. Yep, you got it. Move the other way so the hole... Oh, that's a different person saying that. Hole digs goes into the reservoirs. Well, the reason I don't want to do that is because I've got tunnel here. And this is not really... this will be fine here. Sorry. This playthrough at this point probably shouldn't be taken super seriously either. Because I never intended this to be an actual playthrough, just like a sandbox. It is what it is. I need to have irrigation barriers all the way around this, and then on top of that as well. I don't think I need levees there. But I digress. Paused building. What paused building? I don't know. I think that's it's probably about as far as this is going to get anyway. Well, at the very least, we experimented with memory. Whether I can remember that or not before I have to go record the next video is a different discussion entirely. No more dynamite factory. Well, we have one over here. So we're actually okay. This was left over because I was previously pumping bad water out of here. And I just put that here because I had a geothermal engine. So it's actually not a big deal. This is waiting on gears. I'm out of gears. How am I out of gears? Have they been consuming all of the gears for some unknown project? Because I know this is all done. And I know I had more than 45 gears. Where are my gears going? Goods tracing mod would tell me, but I don't have goods tracing mod installed. Just popping in to say hi. Unfortunately, cannot stay. Neither can I. We're going to end here in a little bit, but thanks for showing up. Good to see you. Yeah, I think this is probably about as good a spot to end as any. I just didn't want to forget exactly what all we'd done. We got memory. We've got this blocked off, which is helpful. We've got this that needs to be cleaned up. Before I'm done, I'm going to mark that for removal. Now, if they can demolish... Okay, good. I was about to say, if they can demolish thorns from up here, I'm calling foul on that. That's just bad. But I am going to turn this into some nice, clean irrigation, put a bad tide defeater on this thing, and then, most importantly, the river of filth is no more, and that means we can actually build stuff here. So, that seems fine. This is not going to be done anytime soon because we don't have gears. Gear production is what it is. I guess it's just... Oh, these power networks aren't connected. That's probably part of the issue. Okay, that wood workshop can immediately be paused. That'll help a lot. Could remove you connected the bridge to a path. Don't tell me that's going to work. Now, it does say it's too far from a district, even though it's theoretically accessible from the bridge. I don't think it's going to actually let them do that. More than 9 away from a path, not vertically. Anyway, I've already said like 18 times that I don't have any more time for this, and I just keep going. So, yes, it is going to be probably about a month before we can stream this again. But it was very nice to be able to figure out memory stuff a little bit better. I'm going to try to incorporate that into the Folktales series. That one will continue. But it's going to have videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday this upcoming week. And then after that, I may only do one video a week for the next little bit. We will see. I'm going to have to start mixing in some other stuff. And again, like I said very early on in stream, I cannot just do Roller Coaster Tycoon for like a whole bunch of days in a row, because then YouTube's going to kill my algorithm. And it's not going to send videos out. So we're probably, for the next couple of weeks, at the very least, going to only have between 3 and 5 videos a week. But I'm going to do my absolute best to get Project 1K finished. I'm going to continue doing the Folktales series. We're, of course, going to still have Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's what tomorrow's video is going to be. And then I'm going to get some colony submissions in there. And if I have time, a couple of other things. But that's where we're at now. Late May, hoping to start new series. Treevers and Water Beavers most likely will be the next ones. And then we'll go from there. But I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everybody supporting the channel. All the gift memberships and everything. I appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll catch you later. Bye-bye.